So most of you, I know, but a lot of you anyways, but Randy Chaffee with Source One Marketing. I buy from Randy.com is my website, and I will start with that because I've been in the branding world before I knew what branding meant. I didn't know I didn't know what I was talking about, I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured out early on that I wanted to be a brander. I wanted to brand myself a little bit because I happen to believe that you always have to sell yourself first. People make a mistake, I think, in the world of sales. And let me tell you, some of you know, but I've been doing this crazy gig for, I say 4+ decades because that sounds better than 40+ years, because that really sounds like a long time. But you know, it's been in this industry my whole life. I started out as a farm boy in little town of Carson City, Michigan, which nobody would know where that's at, but it's got a prison now, so it's kind of important. But went to school there, worked with my dad on farm, and that's where I learned the idea, I think, of relationship selling. My dad sold seed corn, he sold grain bins and post-frame buildings, and I was an original metal hacker, and you guys know what I mean, a metal chopper. I used to buy, put glasses on, I used to buy 40-foot lengths of steel. I had this brilliant idea, and that I'd buy 40-foot lengths of steel, and I'd pre-cut it for people, right? I thought, this is brilliant. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. And so I started going out and calling on some builders and calling on some lumber yards. And so the good news, bad news, right? The good news is everybody liked this idea, and they said, I like this pre-cut steel stuff. This is cool. The bad news is I didn't realize how much work that was to be hacking off 17,000 orders, you know, of steel. That was nowhere near fun. So my original, I learned something early on about the under promise and over deliver. I was promised next day delivery, whatever you want, give me your orders. And I had more orders. I was chopping steel till 2 o'clock in the morning, and I still wasn't done. So I figured out early on that sales was more what I wanted to do than chopping steel. So my dad, I remember a story, and we're gonna talk about hybrid in a minute, but I think it's important to understand maybe where my background came from. My dad, as a little guy, I would go out in the cornfield and the bean fields. We'd pull milkweeds, and if you grew up on the farm, you all know what milkweeds are. And at one point, I started going with him when he was selling seed corn, Pioneer brand seed corn. Everybody in the farm world knows Pioneer. And he'd take me sometimes, and I remember one time distinctly, we were out doing planting, doing the fertilizer, doing the whole gig, right? And all of a sudden he gets a call. My mom rings the little bell. We had one of those little dinner bells out back, and she ding, 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 and that meant we should come to the house or something. That was a little bit before cell phones or pagers or any of that kind of stuff. And a customer of his needed some bags of corn, and he needed it bad. The storm's coming in. He needed to get planted. And I remember we loaded up the seeds. I got in the truck with him. I'm like 8 or 9, maybe 10, I can't remember. And I remember he says, or I said to my dad, I said, why are we taking this over to Earl? I remember the guy's name. When we still got seeds to plant, or fields to do ourselves. You know, we're farming too. And he says, because they count on us, and that's what we do. If we're gonna sell somebody something, we take care of them and we meet our promises, and we do what we say we'll do. And that's always stuck with me. So that's where my background comes from. I spent a few years in purchasing in this industry. Been selling in some shape or form, like I said, for about 4 decades now. So it's been a great gig, and I love the relationship part of it. So that gets me to where things just run along. The last 38 years, right, of just doing what I do, traveling, doing the old school road warrior thing, which is 11, 12 weeks out of 13 weeks of, you know, airports and travel and rental cars and hotels, and not sure what city I'm in and not even sure what hotel I'm in. I've done that a couple times where you go to your room and the key doesn't work, and you come back downstairs and you get ornery with the desk clerk because your key doesn't work. She says, well, you're at the Hampton Inn. I said, I know where I'm at. The key don't work. She says, you're at the Hampton Inn. And I look down and it's a Holiday Inn Express from the night before. So that's happened, believe it or not. And Sean, you probably had that happen.
I've lost my rental car, but I've not lost my room key.
Okay, well that's good.
If you have any time left over, I'll tell you that.
Okay, well I flew out of I spent the whole night in Buffalo, New York to fly out one day to find out that I was actually scheduled to fly out to Cleveland. And because I just was traveling so much, I just forgot, didn't look at my phone, didn't do what I was supposed to do. But anyway, so I did the road warrior thing forever. Love it, love everything about it, love building relationships, and there's many of you folks in here that I've known for a lot of years, and so I like the relationship part of selling. I like to sell myself first, I like to build the relationship, and then we'll do business together. That's always the way I've approached things, and that's how you avoid one-offs, I think. You know, you get a lot of one-off sales when you don't build the relationship and the foundation first, right? You get an order or 2 or 3 or 5, but sooner or later it goes away. You know, Carl, we've been doing business forever, right? And because we built relationships, we chat, we have, same with Ruben. So I would have probably, let me back up. About probably 10 years ago, I started this idea in my head that I needed to have a force multiplier somehow. I needed to figure out how can I be more places? How can I spread the brand of Randy, which is really my first thing. Source One Marketing is my agency, but I sell Randy, that's who I am. I look at myself as Randy Inc. That's who I am, that's what I am, that's what y'all buy, that's what you should buy. And if I'm not doing a good job with that, I'm probably not gonna be successful in the long run. So I was having a good time doing it. But I needed to figure out, one, how to not be doing 11, 12, 13 weeks out of 14 weeks on the road, hammering it hard. Even though I loved it, I don't know if I would have ever made the jump to the what I call the Randy 2.5 Hybrid Amazing. That's a little moniker that I use on my podcast and on some other things that I do. But COVID hit, right? Out of the blue one day. I don't know that we expected anything like that. And I remember I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a sales meeting, and we all went to the meeting, all knowing we probably shouldn't be going to the meeting. It was March 14th of 2020, I remember the day, plus or minus, I think it was March 14th, but. So, we get done with the meeting, we're hearing about all this stuff, right? And I get to the airport, and Tulsa's not that busy at an airport, but when I say there's nobody there but me, I was getting a little freaked out because there's nobody in the stupid airport but me. And so I'm watching the big screen TVs, and I'm not an NBA fan, but they're literally walking off the court. Remember that? They're walking off the court mid-game. This is serious. This is not a joke, and I don't know what's going on. So, but something struck me that I needed to figure out a better way to do this. I'm probably gonna have to for a while. And still maintain relationships, still build relationships. So I got my iPad out while I'm at Tulsa Airport, and I started making notes. Making notes on the plane to Atlanta, and from Atlanta into Fort Myers. And I was so unsure where this world was going at the time that I actually didn't know if I'd get I didn't know if I'd get out of Tulsa. So I get a rental car from Tulsa to home in Fort Myers, Florida, just in case. Canceled it when I got above 10,000 feet to get on the app and canceled it, sorry budget. Then I go, what if I get into Atlanta and I can't get still home? So then I got another plane from Atlanta to Fort Myers and did the same thing. So that's how convinced I was that something is not right with this thing. I didn't know it was gonna last as long as it did. But, so I started making notes, and I said, somehow I need to change the way I approach people on a regular basis and get more force multipliers is a word I like to use. So I started making notes, and I get home, and a guru in the sales world that I follow a lot, Jeffrey Gittimer. Anybody know Jeffrey Gittimer at all? Great guy. Had an opportunity to chat a couple times on the phone with him or on a Zoom meeting with him. Love the guy, love what he talks about. He started talking about new normal. And his stick was, this is new. We're never going back to the old normal ever. We're going to new normal. People are not gonna get on a plane in New York City and fly to Dallas for a day and come back. None of that's gonna happen anymore. I started believing some of that because it seemed like that's what's happening, right? Weeks go by, I start studying. I start listening to podcasts. I start listening to Zoom meetings. I'm reading like 17 books I think I bought on Kindle that all about going live, trying to be more virtual, I guess is the word. And so I don't know that if I'd ever done that if it wouldn't have been for COVID, because I'd have just kept doing what I did because I was pretty good at it and I enjoyed it and I didn't mind being on the road at all. So, but as the more I got into this, then a really good thing happened, is I joined a mastermind group, which I believe in mastermind groups. I hadn't really thought about what they were before this, but about 25, 26 people, pretty high octane folks around North America, all in different industries, none of them in our industry, right? And so we started talking about more virtual things. Started talking about things like, instead of sending a text to Ruben, I'll send him a picture of me and a glass of wine one day as I'm waiting for dinner. You remember that one, right, buddy? And sending an email with a video of myself talking about what I want to tell you instead of just typing an email that nobody reads. That's easy stuff. Well, a couple, BombBomb, which is a service that allows you to actually attach an email into or a video in an email, and you don't have to PDF it. You don't have to open it. It's just there, right? You got the thumbnail. Okay, that's all kind of fun and cool. Then I started doing product videos, sending product videos to people. Started doing a lot of social media work, a lot of posting. And the more I'd done that, the more engagement I kept getting. I get people responding, people saying stuff, people reaching out. And that's when I finally said, you know what? I think I gotta do this a lot. And then I found myself sitting at the table or my desk or wherever I was at, and found out that any given day, I might be able to have 20, 30 customer touches a day, where if I'm traveling, and if you travel like us guys that are like reps or sales guys that are on the road, you're lucky to see 4 people in a day if you have a good day. It's tough beyond that. And yes, you can make phone calls from your car, and you can make a phone call from the airport, and you can send text, but it's nowhere near the same as if you're sitting at an office or a desk and being able to do that. But the problem was, I still like the personal contact, right? I like to be with people. I just enjoy people. Always been a people guy. So the virtual thing allowed me to start doing that. And the funny thing is, I started getting customers sending me videos back. So I'd send them like a video text, hey, what's up? Did you get your sample? How'd the pricing look? Whatever it was. And all of a sudden, they're sending back a text going, hey, I got it, it was great. It was all over the place because they didn't really know what they were doing yet either. We're all kind of learning this thing. And I remember one of the first things I learned with it, a little hint, is a couple little hints. One, you always got to do the first 1 or 2, right? Nobody is real comfortable doing a video and sending it out, right? Because they're self-conscious. I'm gonna look stupid, I'm gonna say something dumb. Nobody likes that, right? But I'm gonna guarantee you, there's a 1,000% difference between the first one and the second one. The first one you do, and you feel like it's stupid and you hate it, and I wish I'd never done it, but I go ahead and send it anyway. Now, fast forward a year and a half, somebody asked me the other day, how often do you look back at your videos you send? Or how often do I do, and we'll talk about how I got into the podcast world a little bit. How do you go back and look at them? I said 0. When I do a live show, I never go back and look at it. Never once. If I guest on a show, I never go back and look at it. And the reason for that is you want to stay raw and organic, is some words that we have kind of learned in this goofy little thing. You just want to be natural, and you want to be yourself, and you want to be real. That's what people want. And I found that if I go, interestingly, if I do like a product video that I want to post online, I feel I suck compared to when I host a live show. Because I feel like I gotta have this director, right, with those little clapper things, and I've gotta be this perfect delivery and this perfect everything. And number one, you're never gonna be perfect. Nobody expects perfect. Nobody even wants perfect. And you're never gonna accomplish it, because that's an unaccomplishable, big word for me, unaccomplishable feat. You can't be perfect. So do it. Done is sometimes better than perfect. Do it. Now, if you really mess up, you gotta start over, but you don't get a chance in live. And that's what doing live shows really helped me become better, is you don't get a redo. You're there and you mumble, stumble through something, you just kind of pick up and keep on going. So I found my comfort level was much greater in doing live than it was doing the recorded version, because I didn't have a chance to hit reset and start over. Because I'd find myself at times, believe me, I would do 17 resets of a stupid little 1-minute video about a product, because I felt I said a word wrong, or I found myself going, that's okay, because you know what? That's what I do if I was in your office, right, Carl? We would just talk. I would stumble over something, I'd forget what I was gonna say, I'd go, what was that? You know, that's just normal. That's what people wanna do, because I think if you're gonna do these kind of things, you have to be the same person that you would be if I walk in the office today. You get Randy the same way, right? You don't get a fake Randy on screen or on a video or whatever that's different than what you'd see when I walk in. So, and the other thing I learned is not to try to be something you're not. I would try at the start to think I'm some kind of like an actor, right? I've got to be this perfect thing, as I said a minute ago. I'm not an actor, I'm a sales guy that kind of knows my product and knows what I'm doing and want to build a relationship, so just be who we are, because there's a funny thing about that. And it took me a while to figure this out, but bold statement, but nobody, there's one thing I do better than everybody in this room by far, 1000%. Ruben, you know what it is, right? You know what I do better? I be me, right? You can't be me, I can't be you, right? So I found out is just quit trying to be what I think people want. And it's just me, and you're either gonna like it or you don't, but we'll probably be okay either way. So I started doing these things, and it just sort of started building. And I started saying, as I listened to other people talk, and a guru that I talked about, Jeffrey Gitomer, love the guy, but he kept talking about the new normal. That's all I wanted to talk about. New normal, we're never going back. Nothing is gonna be the same again. And I'm going, I don't buy that. I think for today, you're right, because we can't travel, so that's the new normal as in for the next, longer than we thought, but it turned out to be, what, a year and a half of that new normal. But I soon started figuring out that we have to, especially in our industry, we have to be able to be back in front of customers together. We have to do things together because that's what we do, right? So as I started looking at that, and that's where this concept came to me of the hybrid. Because I figured out in my little mind that everything's hybrids, right? Nothing's usually gray and black and white. There's always, because most things fall in the gray area. Pull a little from this side, a little from that side. And so what I finally figured out was that I need some of the old normal when we can. I need to be back seeing customers, doing the things we do. But I can augment that with the things that I learned during the last 15 months of how to be 1,000 places at a time. And the beauty of the whole virtual thing is when I can't be anywhere, if you follow me on different platforms and different things, you'll see something from me 20 sometimes a day sometimes, right? You're gonna see a post about a product. You're gonna see a video that I do, or Lizzie, my assistant, does. You're gonna see sharing Carl's great building that somebody just did in Shiloh, or Ruben's great stuff that he does out in Montana, right? You're gonna see those things all day long, because that's the other key is, a lot of people say to me, well, how do you get enough content? That's just a lot of work. It's really not, because if you're engaged and you do it every day and it becomes part of your life, it's not a lot of work. You just, every little bit, I mean, my phone's vibrated, some of it's probably other things, but if Triad or Metal Exteriors, a couple guys that I know here, if their post pops up, as soon as I see it pop up, instantly right now, I'm gonna engage with that, right? And that gives me 15, 18, 20 posts a day to do that I don't have to look for content. Because I'm gonna share your content, which helps you. It sends a message to you also that I remember you, I care about you, and I wanna assist a little, whatever I can do, recognize you, right? But the second thing it does is everybody all over the country that sees that, or anybody that follows that, you know, it's a compounding effect, right? 20 people look at it, and then every one of their 500 people look at it, and you know how that all compounds, right? It's like, it's Randy, dude, I don't even know who he is, but he's everywhere. I mean, he knows this guy in Montana, and this guy in Ohio, and this guy over here in Pennsylvania. I mean, and so I'll share stuff that's not even my customer, but it's in the world, because I love this metal roofing business. If I see a beautiful metal roof that's somebody I don't even know, I'm gonna share it, because I wanna promote the industry, right? And so There's a lot of content there. The other thing that I would suggest to you, and I found this to be, I've heard it, but I found it to be very truthful, is that people will respond more to you personally than they even will business-wise. So when I do what I call walk and talks, pretty simple-minded, it's because I'm walking and talking, right? It's not any more complicated than that. But when I walk a lot, I'll talk about something that pops in my head. It could be business, it could be some sort of a inspirational thing. I just heard a song I like and the words made sense and I wanted to throw out a thought, right? Or drive and talk or set and talk. Again, drive and talk, if I'm riding down the road, something pops in my head. But I get more engagement, probably 10-to-1, with Randy personally, telling you a little bit about me, who I am, a thought I have, than I do any product or business post that I ever do. So that convinced me that people first want to know Carl, right? People first want to know Ruben, right? That's the first thing they want to know. Before they even know what the product is, what your company is, what you do, because if they don't trust you, they don't believe in you, they don't like you, they're probably not going to do business with you. People tend to buy from people they trust and like, right? That's typical. You gotta have a good product, you have a good service, you gotta have all that other stuff, right? So once I kind of started down that road, the next thing that came in is this crazy idea of doing my own. My director calls it a podcast. And I have a producer director who does my show, Building Wins Live. It's for the building industry. Guests in and out of the industry, people that bring value, like I had a guy who was an author and a sales guy in the ag world that was on last week. That does a number of things for me, but again, it's every week, whether I've talked to you or not, you see me, right? Live, we're talking, and you can have engagement with people, replays, again, I found live's a great way to go. For every viewer you have on your live show, it's usually about 20 to 30 to 1 of a replay later. They'll watch it later in the evening or whatever. And it comes up sometimes months later. So, well, my point of all that, I'm not suggesting everybody should get into doing podcasts, and that's why my director calls it podcast. It's a video podcast. I said, no, I hired you, so I'm gonna call it what you tell me to call it. But the funny thing with that is it taught me, it circled back to something that years ago, I used to be we've all heard the theory of think out of the box, right? So I would think, I was an in-the-box thinker in my younger years. Then I started punching the edge of the box a little bit. Then I started thinking out of the box, right? We've all heard that term. But what I learned with this, that probably more than anything, as we sort of wrap up, is that I tore the box apart and threw it in the air. There is no box. And that's the way I view everything I look at now. There's no boxes. Why can't I do it? Because there's 3 words that I use a lot, and I've talked about this before on some shows, but there's 3 words, and it depends on how you say them, makes a big difference. Why can't I, or why I can't? So many times, first thing an opportunity pops up, what's our first thing to do? We say, why I can't do that. I can't do that. That's a dumb product. It'll never sell. Nobody's gonna want that. Nobody's gonna want an elite panel that looks like standing seam, right? That's just dumb, right? That would be the first thing, or you look at it and you go, why can't I? With a question mark. Why can't I do that? And so, that got me to thinking with this whole process that I've been going through the last 1.5 years is, some guy said, I started guesting on some shows. I didn't know what I was doing. Man, you don't talk to me, I'll talk to you. I've never done live before. First 1 or 2 scared the crap out of me, because I'm like, I'm live, man. What if I say something dumb? Which I probably did, but I got comfortable real quick. And I go, so I said, why don't you have your own show and take it to the industry? And so the only point of that is, why can't I do that? I can do that. Why not? A 1.5 years ago, I just said, you're nuts, I'm not doing that. That's number one, that's dumb. Nobody's gonna care, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to. Probably would have been the biggest one. But, so what I learned, probably to kind of wrap up, the biggest thing is think about why you can do it rather than why you can't do it, whatever it is. And lastly, and I think the biggest thing that came out of this whole COVID thing for me in developing this hybrid approach to selling, which is taking old, taking new, one augments the other, right? If I can't be with you, you're still seeing me, we're still communicating. So but I don't wanna do just that, because I'm gonna lose the personal contact. But you know, once we go back into some stupid thing someday, I'm not saying we will, but it concerns me that we got led into things pretty quickly. So if that happens, I'm ready, bring it on, I guess. That's fine, if I can't travel for 2 months, I'll just do what I do, because I learned to do it. So the key word there is adapting. I think you have to be an adapter. That's the biggest thing I learned out of this last year and a half, is not the things that I adapted, because that's all just things, and it served me well. The biggest thing is I learned to be an adapter. I've learned to expect to adapt, I've learned to know it's coming. So whatever it is, I don't care. You tell me tomorrow I can't travel for 3 weeks, now I'll go home and do what I do. I have a plan now, I know what I'm doing, I know what I can do, right? And I think that works in all aspects of our business, right? Is think outside of the box, tear the box up, get rid of the box, hybrid your way of thinking, and that's the key. I needed a little moniker, a little stick, if you will. The Jewish word stick, I can't say it because I'm not Jewish, but I can't say the word the proper way. I needed that for some of the stuff that I do, some of the promotional stuff that I do. And so I developed final words, Randy 2.5 hybrid amazing. That's what I have and I use all the time on my shows, all the time on almost everything I do. Where'd that come from? It's real simple. Randy is me, that's the easy one. 2.5 is just, you know, in the technology world, we're always, well, this is 2.0, then you come up with a new one as 2.5. I just chose that because it sounded like a cool number. Hybrid, we've talked about that. Old, new, always be looking, in my opinion. And it's probably the best thing that's happened to me in the last year and a half is how do I take some old, some new, bring them together, hybrid them, and just not be afraid to go try new stuff. And amazing, well, one, Jeffrey Gitomer, like I said, a guru that's way, way big time. He's always using new normal, old normal, normal. So, I mean, I don't want to try to steal his thing because I'm just Randy. But secondarily, who wants to be normal? I'm incapable of being normal. Anybody knows me, I'm not very normal. And wouldn't we rather be amazing than to be normal? I want an amazing life. I want amazing everything I do. I want to try to bring amazing things to my family, to my friends, and my customer friends. So that's where amazing came up. So that's where the Randy 2.5 hybrid amazing came from. And I you know, I don't know if it makes any sense, but it's an approach that works. It's an approach that I'm never going to go back from. I will never stop doing this again, ever. I will always be involved. And you can look at social media, you can look at all that stuff and say, that's just dumb, that's just for kids, no, it's not. You don't need to like it. You don't need to agree with it. You don't need to think it's worth anything. But I won't go as far as to say, I'm gonna quote a Jeffrey Gitomer quote, but I'm not gonna say this because y'all are my friends. But he said, but if you're not doing it, you're an idiot. Because it's here, it's going to be here, it's never gonna go away, and you need to grasp it. That's all I got, really. I mean, to short period of time, already 3 minutes over, but quick question or two, but Gary's not here to tell me to leave, so. You got one? Is it a tough one?
No.
Good.
So.
Did I pay you for this question? So
No, we didn't.
Okay.
In this world, in this metals world, what have you found that there's a better platform that you go live on that gets more attention? Or where are the customers in the metal world? Are they more on LinkedIn? Are they more on Facebook? Are they more on Instagram?
Great question.
Live email videos?
Everything, in my opinion, the best platform for us is LinkedIn, by far. And the reason I say that is because it's a business to business, right? Which I don't like that term. I really like the P2P or H to H, right? People to people or human to human, because we're still, even if we're doing business, at the end of the day, Reuben Miller is going to buy from me because he trusts me and we have a relationship. You may substantiate that buy mentally later, right? But you're going to buy because you have a feeling, I think I want to buy this from Randy, right? That's the end of the day. And so But LinkedIn by far, now the problem with LinkedIn, so I do way more, if that'd be my go-to every day on anything. Now my show is Facebook and YouTube right now live, only because it takes quite a while to get LinkedIn to let you do a live show. That's not the easiest thing to do, it takes a while. I will get there, that's my goal.
Sorry, so to lead into that, how did you drive people there? Cause I find a lot of like my buyers aren't like.
On LinkedIn?
Or no, aren't on Facebook, so
Oh.
like if you wanna do live shows and things like
Yep.
that.
I do it, okay, great question.
How do you drive them?
I drive that with the other aspects. I remind them every time I text them, every time I email them, every time I do that, and now I like my Building Wins show, my hashtag is Building Wins. So it's on everything I do. I'm consistently reminding people, because here's another term you have to be in, you can look at this good or bad. We're all sales folks here. Everybody in the room is salespeople, right? Whether you are or you're not, we're all salespeople. You have to be a shameless self-promoter. You just have to be a shameless self-promoter. That's not a bad thing. I'm not in your face, not too over the top, but I have no issue reminding you anytime, anywhere, all day long, what I do and what I'm about. And if you have a problem with that, being a quote salesperson is probably not your gig, because you just got to be willing to talk to everybody, willing to tell people what you do, willing to say, look, this is what I do. So to answer your question, at the start, I constantly tell people, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, I got the show, I got this, I got this, I got this. And because the nice thing about social media is you don't have to read it if you don't want to. So it's not as intrusive as if I call you and say, Carl, make sure you watch my show next week, right? Hey, do I want to call you every day, Reuben, say, watch my show next week? That's intrusive. I'm just putting it out there, reminding you very constantly, 10 times a day, 20 times a day, what I'm doing, right? Reuben.
You mentioned sharing how much you travel a day versus what you used to. You talked a little bit about how much you used to travel. Do you mind sharing that percentage-wise, how much you travel a day versus?
Well, today's interesting versus a month from now. So I'm going to answer it this way. I traveled zero for a while, right? I mean, none of us did. And I hated that because I like to travel. I just like to I love this sort of stuff. I love being with customers. I love having pizza and pop. I love all that, right? I mean, with customers. But right now, I'm back now to traveling probably 40% as much as I did. Somebody asked me the other day, I was on a buddy of mine's show that has nothing to do with this industry, but he said, where do you see that going? That's hard to say, but I would tell you right now that I would like, in Randy's perfect world, I'd travel 60% of what I did. And I'll be more effective, because I can tell you I've been more effective the last year and a half than I've ever been any time in my life, period. And because I've learned other ways to do things. Not other ways to do things and not go back to traveling, but there's 11, I remember when this thing all happened, I think it was 11 or 12 out of 13 weeks, I was gone all the time. And it was almost like, yeah, this is kind of cool for a couple of weeks. I'm kind of, yes, thank you, COVID, right? I don't have to travel, and I got a reason not to travel because nobody expects me to travel. They don't want me there anyway. But then it didn't take long for that to start settling in. So yeah, to answer your question, and that'll vary. Show season's coming around. We're starting to have more shows. Customer open houses are going to start up more. You know, those things. Always do all those. But the goal of this is not to travel. It's not totally accurate. Yes, I would like to travel a little less because I can accomplish more in a week at home, preparing for, following up on, getting things done than I can a week on the road. But I need that week on the road every little bit to still be with my people, right? But, so the goal really though, to what I've been doing with the whole virtual thing is not to just travel less, but to be more effective when I do travel. And that's what I found is now, if I don't see you every 2 weeks, it's almost like you'll take the time to see me. Carl always take the time to see me because he's a nice guy and we're friends. But it's not an event, if you will, right? Because, I mean, we just saw you 2 weeks ago, what we're gonna talk about is different today than 2 weeks ago, other than, how's everything going? Good? Okay, that's about it, right? There's nothing else. So, I think that you can create maybe, a little bit more desire on both yourself as a salesperson and your customer to want you to be together. You know, if you back off on that just a little bit. But it's all about, like I said, it's really all about just, building the brand name. And like I said, I can't say it too many times, you know, nobody buys from Triad, right? They buy Reuben Miller, right? Am I right? They buy Reuben Miller, and what you guys do, that's what they buy. And if you remember that more than anything else, yeah, you'll win all the time. You'll win more than you lose. Always here to kick me out, so. Another question?
LinkedIn, you don't have any problems with putting all your other links on LinkedIn to get where you want to go and other
I'm
social
sorry?
media stuff? LinkedIn allows you to do all the stuff that you wanna do to get your links sent to your.
Yes, you can, what I'll do is I can't
So
be
you think
live
they'll
on
let
LinkedIn.
you do, I guess, except live?
LinkedIn, like, the podcast is live, but I can't do it live on LinkedIn yet. But I can immediately post it on LinkedIn the second I'm done. And the other thing that's just a little interesting factor there's two things that there's nobody here to keep me out. I use beans too, my wife hates it when I say beans, so that doesn't exist. Beans, it works, right? Beans, I'm standing here. You can refurbish. So I usually do anywhere from 35 to 50, 60 minutes of actual live show time, right, when I do it. And minimum once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times, just depends. But you take sound bites after that. And my girl Liz does this for me. So you got that 30, 40, 50 minutes. There might be 3.5 minutes of some brilliance between you and I, Reuben, when you were on my show, right? You can pop that on, previously live, and say something like, man, check out what Reuben had to say about when he took the guts to move to Montana and start a business on his own, right? You throw that out there, and you have all this content that you can just use, and it's living there forever, so 5 years, it's a long time. In this world, it's a long time. 5 years from now, everybody's gonna forget you were on the show. So you throw some of that back out again, you've always got content when you do that. And that's the beautiful thing of that. And there's another thing, if you're thinking anything in the line of postings, podcastings, any of those sort of things, is there's another term that gets used a lot. I didn't know this, I didn't invent this, but is borrowing other people's audience. Brilliant thing to be doing. You borrow other people's audience. Why am I on somebody's show that really has nothing to do with my industry? Because I get to borrow their audience. I get to be on there, you're a perceived expert, right? Because there's something really interesting about being on a show is you're now an expert, right? Somehow, somebody thinks I must know something, they wouldn't have invited me here to speak, right? Doesn't mean I know anything, but there's a perceived expertise with that goes with it, right? So, you borrow people's audience. You get to promote that. They promote that. Hey, I'm gonna be on Billy Bob's show at 3, make sure you tune in. One more time for me to tell everybody what I'm doing. I'm out here. They go, oh geez, Randy's, man, he must know something, right? I mean, he's on this guy's show. But the other more important thing, so I did this guy named Carson Vincent Hetty's show. He was on mine, I was on his. He's the #1 Microsoft sales guy in the country. He's a stud. Why did I go on his show? Because he had 350,000 followers. I just want a small portion of those because, you know, some of those know somebody that gets shared that knows a guy in my industry, right? So it takes half hour of my time. I mean, I literally do it riding down the road if I had to. You know, it's so easy to find the time to do those if you're engaged. And that's, you know, you just gotta be engaged. If you're not engaged with it, you'll screw with it for a while and then you'll forget about it. And my belief that, and I may be wrong on this, but my belief as we roll out of this current state that we're in, I guess, because we are pretty quickly, it seems, which is good, probably 80% of anybody that's been doing this will stop doing it again. because I'm going back to the old normal now. Ha, I get to travel finally. I'm never gonna stop, because I believe so much that, one, I'm prepared for anything else that happens, but I believe in it that much. That's why I hired, my girl Lizzie to work full-time just doing this stuff. That's how valuable I find it to me as an agent, as a rep. It's something I'll never back off of. So, I don't know if that answers your question, Sean.
I think so.
Yeah, but you can, if I could choose only one platform, and that's the only platform I have, I can't now because I gotta get live on LinkedIn first, but I have to do it and then post it there. But if I was live on LinkedIn today, and you said all the rest had to go away, I'd walk away from them all. I'm not going to, because I think redundancy is important, because I will reach certain people on Facebook that never go to LinkedIn, certain people on Instagram that never go to this. But there's a redundancy that's important too. Because again, it's a redundancy that's not in your face. If I keep calling you, it's like, will you quit calling? But if I'm just out there and you see it, you don't have to watch me. You don't have to read my post if you don't want to. You can just skip right on by, right? And I think something that you have to work on with posts, and I need to get better at this too. I'm in a learning game on some of this stuff. But it's called the hook point. You got about 3 seconds typically with a post. If it's not people that already follow you, okay? If you know me and you follow me and you kind of like some of my stuff now and then, you'll probably always look at my stuff. But if I want new people that don't follow me, I'm competing with the swipe, right? You can swipe all day long. You're going this, you're going this, you're going this. I'm finding something that's interesting, right? I'm bored, I'm sitting here while I'm having a pizza. So you better have something that, and it's called the hook point. Brandon something or other wrote the book. You have 3 seconds typically to get somebody to make a decision. Am I going to open it? Not will I engage with it? Will I watch the whole thing? Will I ever like, share, follow the guy? I mean, literally, will he open this video or this post? About 3 seconds. Because they're gonna look quick, and if they don't see something that's a little bit like enticing, they're swiping on, they're swiping on, you know, you can go through miles of that in a half hour if you want.
Do you do your podcast on a different platform than your lives?
Actually, the lives I use StreamYard, which is a video hosting site, because I use podcast and broadcast simultaneously. They're technically not. Everything I'm doing right now, we're going to start doing a true podcast, which is actually, for anybody that doesn't know, is podcast typically is voice only, audio. Everything I do now is video. But you can very easily convert a video program to just an audio only. Because then you can get on some streams like Spotify and some places that you can, people that just want to listen while they're out walking or whatever they're doing. But I use StreamYard is what I use. StreamYard is very good because it's good. It's easy to interact. It's easy to have, you know, anybody jump on and make a comment or ask a question. Literally with StreamYard, if you wanted to have, I don't know, Sean, you called in and we're talking about something, right? If you were where you could get on camera, Wes, my director, could literally send you a link. You could pop on and he could put you on the screen about 10 seconds from now. And we could chat about it. You know what I'm saying? Not saying I really do that, but that's the beauty of StreamYard, is that it's very easy to put up people's logo. When I'm talking to a guest, we're gonna promote them, right? We're gonna put their logo up. We're gonna put their website. And you can do this without a director. I use one because I don't have a lot of time to do all this background stuff, that promo stuff. I just don't. I need to keep selling and doing what I do. But secondarily, I'm older, and I've decided one thing I've learned getting older is I know what I'm not good at, and I know what I don't want to do. And I'll just be brutally honest, I'm not good with, if this technical crap goes bad, I'm screwed. Because I'm never going to figure it out. I'm not technologically advanced enough that I'm going to be able to figure out how to bring you back if I lost your audio, right? So that's why I have a producer do the show. And secondarily, I probably see silver objects and squirrels pretty quick, so I can get distracted pretty easy because that's just my personality. If I'm trying to bring up Carl's website to pop it on the screen, or or a picture that I saw in there about a building you just did, or something while we're doing the show, if I'm looking at that while I'm talking to you, all of a sudden there's gonna be this dead silence as you're sitting there going, okay, I'm done talking, there's something, because I forget you, right? Because I'd be too distracted. So, the cost to me of having a producer, director do this stuff is worth the money. Now, you don't have to do that. I know a lot of guys on their shows, they self-direct themselves. Nothing wrong with that. They're just smarter than I am, or not as distracted as easily as I am. But, one more question. I know you got one. I know you do.
Not offhand, I don't.
Okay, well, see, I paid you $20 to have a good question. Anything else?
What do you do to audio edit? What does your girl use to edit audio?
She uses, she's been putting it into LumaFusion. LumaFusion is a site that she uses to do my videos. So when I do product videos, I'll film the audio part or the video. Sometimes it'll be a video. Sometimes she'll do it as a voiceover, just my voice only. Sometimes she'll do the video, so she'll usually call me and say, hey, or text me, I need 30 seconds of you talking about this, and I need, 30, 40 seconds you talking about that, I'll handle the rest. Then she'll slide all of the videos and the pictures and all that, and then pop me in here and there to either voice over or a talk. So she uses LumaFusion. She also uses that for the doing the sound bites right now. Only because there are other apps for doing that, but that's one she uses on a regular basis and is comfortable with. I said, as long as I get the 35 seconds of brilliance, I don't care what you use to get it there, right? So, but it's a fun gig. The biggest thing, like I said, is, and I'll leave you with this. I don't know, maybe none of this makes any sense. We may all walk out here saying that's the dumbest thing I've ever spent 45 minutes doing. But here's the deal: you can't escape it. And I'm convinced, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that if you're not going to be involved in some sort of social media, if you will, I'm not going to say you lose, but you're not going to win as big as you can win. I'm convinced of that. There's just, that's where everybody's going. I mean, everybody, people my age all the way down to, 3-year-olds. I mean, they all figure out how to get on that stuff. And talking about, I use LinkedIn, we talked about. My least favorite, well, I don't do TikTok, I don't know, that's just, to me, that's weird. But, not saying I never would, but that's just weird. I just feel like I'm supposed to dance around like a chicken or something with that. It's just a weird platform. But, Instagram I'm not a huge fan of, only because of the demographics. The demographics don't typically fit our market, but here's the reason why I still, not as conscientiously as I should, and I need to be better, but why I try to remember to use Instagram is because this 22-year-old follows Instagram. He may not be the buying decision maker today, but he will be maybe in 7 years. And if I'm still doing this in 7 years, which I plan to be, I want to start developing that relationship with him today, even if it's only virtually. So that someday, as he gets a little older, he goes, aren't you that dude that I've watched for the last 5 years? Yeah, come in and talk to me, right? So I do some of those because I still want to, it's kind of like farming, right? You gotta be, planting, cultivating, harvesting all at the same time, and there's no seasons, right? You just keep on and on and on and on. So I do that because it takes literally another second and a half to post it over on Instagram. But yeah, I would, I need to do more with YouTube. I think YouTube's a great spot. I'm just such a big LinkedIn believer right now so that's all I got. I don't know if there's anything else, but thanks for coming, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.